Okay, well, I guess we'll get started. I hope you've had a chance to introduce yourselves around the table. This is a very special occasion. Many of you have been to one of these before, but the point is really to give people a chance to get to know one another, get to know the faculty who hold Thomas R. Brown chairs, and just generally network and welcome. It's the Thomas R. Brown support at the University of Arizona is a legacy of Burr Brown Corporation and Thomas R. Brown. And as such, every year at this luncheon, we play a 20-minute video, which is him in person telling the story of Burr Brown and sort of gives the backdrop for why we have chosen to support students and faculty in the ways that we have. So we're going to start, we show the same thing every year, so the most we can do by mixing it up is to put it in the program at different places. Enjoy your salad and enjoy the video, and I'll be back in a moment. I wanted to announce our VIPs now. We have a bunch of them. We have them from the University of Arizona, and we have them from the Thomas R. Brown Foundations. First of all, I'd like to introduce my sister, Mary Bernal. Also from our foundation is John Carter and Dr. Jerry Swanson. And Sean Kirkpatrick. There he is. Thank you all for being here. From the University of Arizona, we have Dean Jeff Goldberg, Dean Ruiz from the College of Science, and Dean Goes from Eller. So, welcome to you. And then a guy who I work with very closely, and most of what we do with the university, J.P. Rosniak, who's president of the U of A Foundation. But there's more. We have Dr. Sen-Chen Chen here, who is the Thomas R. Brown in Management and Technology from the Eller College. We have Linda Powers, who's our endowed chair in the College of Engineering. And I'd also like to recognize Dr. Ruiz, who is the director of Biosphere 2, and as such, a chairholder also. And who received yesterday the Ray Davies Lifetime Award for supporting education in Southern Arizona. So, but there's more. We all bring something to this, and it's not just the leaders who I've just introduced, but it's the students also. So we support scholarships in both the College of Engineering and the Eller College, and I would really like to recognize you also. So the Eller students, could you please stand for just a moment and be recognized? And our engineering students, would you stand, please, and be recognized? Okay. We really do think this is about the most special day of the year. We support a lot of things in Tucson, but this group really recognizes where we're investing in excellence. And We read all your essays. We know what your intentions are. And it's a great honor to play a part in helping you realize what it is you're trying to accomplish. So right now, I think I'll stop, and I will let Dean Goldberg and Dean Goes say a few words. Jeff, why don't you go first?
Thank you. Great. Thanks, Sarah. So this is always one of the highlights of the year, and we should do this twice a year, I always think. I've now seen that video probably 10 times, and I always get something different out of the video. So this time I realized you must have had an outrageously interesting kitchen at your house. A blackboard in the kitchen, okay, that was in advance. But and you have to know the history of Burr Brown. It's a great Tucson story. I mean, it's unrivaled as a Tucson story. The only thing that's close to it maybe is Ventana. And at one time, there was a Burr Brown component in every CD player on the planet. That's how big Burr Brown was. So we shouldn't ever underestimate what Tom Brown and Paige Burr did, and we shouldn't underestimate the work that really went into that. But what I took out of the video today was this notion that, it's real easy to stand up and say how great you were individually. But one of the early things that Tom talked about in that video was the team and the employees of Burr Brown and all the partners of Burr Brown. So my remarks this morning are going to talk about partnerships. And I would venture to guess that almost everybody in this room is a partner to engineering at this point in time. And you really can't be successful without that. Paulo Goes is going to stand up in a couple of minutes, and we are right now running two really exciting programs, one in cybersecurity, one in entrepreneurship, tailored to engineering students, and some of the students that we see right here are part of that and will be part of that. And that's a fantastic improvement of where we were even just 5 years ago. So we're glad to have Remy here to start to spearhead some of these things. The university right now, we're starting to do some more hiring. We're starting to do more focused hiring. And I think this is the first year that I've actually got partnerships with Joaquin Ruiz in hiring in CubeSats, in hypersonics possibly, and in sensor development. And so this notion of getting faculty that start to walk across the boundaries are really critical to us. And due to the Brown Foundation and the wonderful philanthropy and the wonderful work, we wouldn't have somebody like Linda Powers here, who was really one of the very early faculty in our group that had the ability to walk from engineering over to the medical school and actually do something in a very reasonable way. And so she's one of the early builders that we hired, and we've gotten more of those kind of people, and it's really due to the initial work. And finally, our partners here, you got a chance to see how many students stood up. So we're at the point now where we do 20 scholarships, and it allows us to recruit the absolute best and brightest from across the United States. Our speaker today, and I asked her, why did you come to the University of Arizona? And you'll get a chance to hear a little bit about that. But she came largely because we have great programs and because we had the resources to enable her to do the kind of things that she wants to do. Can't do that without great partners like the Brown Foundations, and in particular Mary and Sarah. And Ray, this is the 1 year I'm not going to call you John up here. I just wanted to let everyone know that. We do have an alum named John Bernal. That's how I got confused 6 times in a row. But this time I'm not going to get confused. No sweat. And then finally, to do an event like this, it takes good staff. And so Claudia, Inez, and Latoya, thank you very much for all you've done. You don't get the great students without a great team. Jim Bagans is here, and I think I saw Leslie Grignon here too, one of our recruiters. And we recruit as hard as football, but obviously not as hard as basketball. And so, but we do those kind of things. And hang in there. Yes, hang in there. It's not over till it's over. And then finally, my good buddy JP. What we've been able to do with the foundation, we've basically doubled the size of our team, and we've seen results that go along with that too in fundraising. So thanks to everyone. Let me introduce our students here, and I'm going to hope I don't miss somebody. Let's get the engineering students stand, and Savannah Armstrong. Let's see, we'll give everybody by name here. Please stand up, and I'll try to go fast so you can get back to eating. Paul Coulier, we'll get everybody at once, applaud once. Great. Gordon Downs. Diana Garland, Great. Rachel Gorlick, stand up. There we go. Adriana Mitchell, stand up. I'll get to the ones that aren't here later. Kyle Norland. Anuha Oke. Tamuka Paxton. Great. Melissa Rayquist, our speaker. Jacob Rishar. Adriana Stone. And Zach Westman. We got somebody else? Alexander Moore, great. So we're glad that you made it. Thanks, Alexander. Get up there. We're missing a few. We got Justin Palacios. Oh, he is here. You made it also. Great. And let's see, who else do I have? Grayson Myers and Alexander Reyes as well. So they're in absence. So let's give them all a big hand. You can now be seated. So when you're a Trauma Star Brown Scholar, it's not just a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year thing. I mean, you're a scholar for life. So get ready for the students in the room. And we've got a couple of lifers here today. So we've got Narantha Balagopal, who's at Edmond Optics. So good to see you. And we got my good friend Chris Utter, who's now down at Modular Mining. You still coaching? Okay, way to go. It's good for Rincon. So Rincon? Way to go, buddy. Okay. We got some nice notes, by the way. I'll share these with Sarah and Mary and the board. Jeannie Wilkening, who's now done at Cambridge and is now at Berkeley. Stephen Glass is doing a PhD at University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And then Alejandra Aguilar did not actually complete in engineering, but completed in science, and she's doing great right now, doing a PharmD. So we shouldn't think that the world is over when we're done with the University of Arizona. That's actually just the starting point. And on that vein, let me bring up my speaker tonight. We have Melissa Requist, who's a sophomore in engineering. She's pursuing a dual degree in biomedical engineering and music performance. Now, some of you may think, my goodness, how does anyone do biomedical engineering and music performance? But we've had a number of students that did music performance, and you're another piece in a long line of students that have done this. We had two in particular from Prescott. They were piano players, and they were absolutely fabulous. So she's originally from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, came to the U of A because of our programming. Melissa's involved with the Society of Women Engineers, and she's also involved with the Biomedical Engineering Society. She's a vice president for recruitment for Phi Sigma Rho. That's the sorority for women in science and engineering. Promotion of strong academics and a healthy social and philanthropic balance, which is exactly how I would describe the Brown Foundation, so it's very appropriate that you're here. In the future, hopefully, and the future is only in a couple of years, so it's really not the future. Melissa plans to go to medical school, do an MD, PhD, career in surgical research, either in orthopedics or neuro, and hopefully we'll find work for people that have paralysis issues. And it's a noble, noble idea. Please come on up.
I have always thought like an engineer. I see problems and want to solve them. When I'm in class, I learn best if I can see what applications a theory can have, how it makes a difference in the real world. Engineering is a way of teaching, learning, and thinking that complement how I view the world. However, I'm not only an engineer. I'm an athlete, an explorer, and as you just heard, a musician. I firmly believe that I'm more successful pursuing a dual degree than I would be doing either one individually. Knowing how and why the world works makes me a better musician. It allows me to view the world through multiple lenses and translate those contrasting images into my music. And like all forces, there's an equal and opposite effect. Music makes me a better engineer. It lets me separate from the answers and ideas constantly churning in my head. It forces me to take a break, to focus only on something beautifully human, and in doing so helps me develop thoughtful and unique solutions. The sense of accomplishment and excitement I get when I finally grasp a physics concept or see how I can apply thermodynamics to neurosurgery makes all my hard work worthwhile. The hours upon hours I spend on homework only provide me more opportunities to have these aha moments. The time I spend in the basement of the School of Music is similar. I pour in hours of time and energy to hear minuscule improvements in my playing, But when I'm sitting on stage with the Arizona Symphony Orchestra, all I'm thinking about is how lucky I am to have this opportunity. Opportunities are what define my education here at the University of Arizona. I will forever be grateful for the Thomas R. Brown Scholarship and the University of Arizona for allowing me the freedom to define my own education, to pursue what I love, and to construct my college experience exactly how it works best for me. My intention for the future is to work in surgical research, applying the engineering problem solving I'm learning now to improve surgical outcomes and to integrate emerging medical technologies into surgical practice. My education in both engineering and music prepares me for a future where I can have a lasting impact on the field of medicine. The communities I've found in the Honors College, College of Engineering clubs, and Phi Sigma Rho encourage me to become more confident, more outgoing, and more compassionate. Qualities that will help me not only in grad school or a future career, but in becoming the person I want to be. My hope is that in 10 years, I'll be someone that I would have looked up to now. I enjoy the work I'm doing, and I'm inspired by the people around me to continue working towards my goals. So thank you. Thank you to everyone here from the Thomas R. Brown Scholarship Foundation. Thank you to everyone from the College of Engineering. And thank you to all my fellow students, because you are all responsible for creating the opportunities and communities that allow me to thrive here at the University of Arizona.
So, when we recruit students, one of the things we ask them, are you interested in engineering? And often we get an answer, that engineering stuff is really hard. And the example that I typically come back to the students with is that engineering is hard only depending on your talent. For me, playing the piano or playing a musical instrument would be really hard. But to be great at something, everything is really hard work. It's 6 hours of practice a day. That's what it takes to really be at this level, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in business, whether it's in music performance. Now, to be average, it's maybe a little bit easier in some fields than others to be average, but there's not anybody in this room that really wants to be average, right? And so it's the hard work, and so thank you, Melissa, for that talk. Way to go. Let me bring up my good friend, Paul Goez, and he can introduce the Eller students and say a few words as well.
Thank you, Jeff. This is my second time attending this incredible lunch. I'm very honored to be here. So my second time watching the video. And as Jeff said, always something that comes to your attention. So the first thing is fish. First in, still here. I think that's how we deans refer to Joaquin Ruiz right now. the dean of deans. But the other thing that to me has a personal connotation is I'm also an engineer. That was my first degree. Back in Brazil, when I was growing up, civil engineering was really attracting a lot of attention of young kids, a lot of projects going on. So my first degree was in civil engineering, like Thomas R. Brown. And I think I always carry that engineering thinking with me, the problem solving. But at some point in time, I moved on to the dark side and got a PhD in business, and had my academic career in business. But I'd like to say also that, being dean now for a little over 1 year, I see a huge potential at this point in time at the University of Arizona for collaboration. Business as a discipline is by definition an interdisciplinary discipline. If you are in business, you are manufacturing, you are transporting, you are serving, which touches all kinds of disciplines. So I'm very proud that we are engaging in very fruitful collaborations across campus. Jeff mentioned the program, 2 programs we currently have with the engineering college. The first one is a Master of Science in Cybersecurity. It's a joint program. There is a common core of courses that every student has to take. And then there is a track, which is a business MIS track, and a track which is the engineering track. We're very excited. We put it together in record time, online program. It's targeting working IT professionals. And we already have, I would say for the first year, 14 students who are moving through. And that's the specialty of one of the Brown chair professor, Luncheon. So we have all the ingredients in place to continue with that. The other program that it's I'm very enthusiastic about is entrepreneurship. We have the McGuire Center of Entrepreneurship. Many of our students that we're honoring today, they went through the McGuire Center. But again, it's a great platform for us to reach out to all the other units on campus. And we have been opening it up, our venture 1 year capstone experience to other units on campus. So we are developing a special program with engineering. They have all those great ideas and solutions, and we want to bring them in and look at do they make sense in the business world, right? Is there a market for what you're developing? And you're going to expand more and more with that. So I think working across campus to develop these pathways that lead from different sciences, different engineering programs to the McGuire Center as a way to have a business model to the creation, to the inventions, that makes a lot of sense. And as part of what we are doing, we are so grateful to the support that the Brown Foundation has extended to us, not only with professorships or chairs at the faculty level, but with scholarships for the students. I think we're expanding. I wanted to announce here that economics is a big area of support for the Brown Foundation. And we are doing great things with economics. We have a Master of Science in Economics that's scheduled to start next year. Andreas Bloom, our department head, has been working very hard on that. And the latest news about what's going on in economics is we are moving all that economics major that was in SBS, the School of Behavioral Science, that is going to be a Eller College major starting next year. So in addition to our BS in business, we will have a BA in economics. And I think the opportunities for collaboration are going to be tremendous. We have EBR, right? Economics and Business Research Center. We're doing great things there. George Hammond, the director. And so I think the Brown Foundation has been always there supporting the economic dimension as well as our scholarship and our students. I'm very thankful that we can count on that. So I'm going to go on and start introducing our students. First, I'd like to call on 2 alumni, past recipients, past students who are honored here. First one is Stephanie Zawada. And the second one is Michael DeCaro. And I'll read a little bit about both. Stephanie is completing her master's in electrical and computer engineering at the U of A while serving as a graduate research assistant to the senior vice president and secretary of the university, John Judas, all while balancing research projects with Dr. Marvin Slapian. Michael is currently going through the Eller Evening MBA program while working with Dr. Marvin Slapian at the Center for Biomedical Innovation, ACABI. Michael is also applying to medical school and has an upcoming interview at the UA College of Medicine. We can applaud now. Now the current McGuire scholars, and as you're going to notice, all of them come from an adjacent discipline into McGuire Center, and that's what we've been promoting more and more. So Andrew Camps is a senior studying electrical and computer engineering. Victor Estrada, he's a senior also in engineering, but mechanical engineering. Sean McBride, graduate student studying applied biosciences. Miguel Pugmire, senior studying mining engineering, Benjamin Walker, senior studying industrial engineering. All of them going through the McGuire program. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Josh Ullorn. He's a doctoral student in the Physiological Sciences Graduate Interdisciplinary Program, minoring in entrepreneurship. He has been admitted to this year's McGuire New Venture Development Program cohort, where he hopes to use his biomedical engineering and science background to construct an innovative new venture. Josh attended the University of Arizona for his undergraduate career as well. He received the Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering and graduated with honors. Josh is also a graduate student mentor for Arizona's Science, Engineering, and Math Scholars Program. Josh.
Hello, everyone. How's lunch going? Good. I've avoided spilling anything on my suit, so it's going well for me, too. So, like Dean Goes said, I'm a graduate student at the U of A, and it essentially means that I work in a lab full-time, and I go to classes whenever I can. So, but I work with Dr. Hedwin Brooks in the Medical Research Building, and one thing that sets our work apart from others is that we realize that men and women are kind of different. And that may not sound groundbreaking, but traditionally and historically, for simplicity, a lot of disease states are studied in male models only. And that's not the best. I think we can all agree. And so for disorders like hypertension, which we study, or like cardiovascular disease, there's some interesting trends related to sex. For instance, clinically, women below the age of 50 are less likely to be hypertensive than men. But before you get too excited, above the age of 50, women's hypertensive rate shoots through the roof. And something that we think might attribute to this is something that women experience that men do not, and that's menopause. And the average age is 51. And so a major difference between postmenopausal women and premenopausal women is the ability to produce estrogen. And that's what we study in our lab, is maybe the protective role that estrogen might play in the development of high blood pressure. And our goal is to try to mimic this effect without using the complicated story of hormone replacement therapy. So that's a little bit about me. That's what I'll be working on 3 to 4 years. But this year I decided to take a little break and do something interesting like the McGuire program. And I think, speaking for all the McGuire Thomas R. Brown Foundation recipients, we all want to be a part of McGuire. There's some reasons we shouldn't, though. It's not an easy minor. Like, it's not a joke. I've already been in it for only a month and a half or so, and I've attended more meetings than I think I have in this shorter period before. But I think we all understand the power of knowing the science and engineering behind a product. We are all from STEM fields. But we understand that you can get lost in those details and miss the bottom line of what makes a product or a technology really successful. And that's that it meets a market need and it's financially successful. Like, in the end, you have to make money. And that's what I think the McGuire program is going to do for us, and why we all wanted to apply, is we understand that it's going to make us more marketable, it's going to make us more well-rounded, and eventually it may lead to higher positions with diverse sets of skills. And whether or not we all launch our ventures this year and become budding entrepreneurs, I think we all understand and can agree with Emerson that the journey is what's important. And I think we can all agree that the main reason we're here is that the Thomas R. Brown Foundation made our journey a little bit easier, more accessible, more enjoyable. For me personally, I think two things we all can agree that we stress on is money and time. And by relieving some of the money worries for a student or for anyone, you allow me personally to pay back my student loans from undergraduate, plan for a wedding, enjoy life outside of school. And it's that balance, or homeostasis that scientists might call it, that's really essential for a healthy, productive life. And that's awesome. But the really cool thing about scholarships is that their benefit extends past present day. Investors are more willing to invest in someone or something when others are doing the same. And I think that's the important thing, is that I'm very thankful that the Thomas R. Brown Foundation has been invested in my life, not because of the immediate effects it has, but because of the positive impact it will have on my future. Thank you.
Listening to your remarks is very humbling. It is an honor to play a role. I also want to give Dr. Ruiz a chance to say a few words. As director of Biosphere 2, he holds the Thomas R. Brown Chair for Biosphere 2. And Biosphere 2 is a very interesting place that's either not understood or misunderstood by a lot of people. But it is a unique lab producing real science that is giving us the capacity to develop insights into some of the grandest challenges on Earth: food, water, energy, how to create resilience in a world that's having big changes fast. And he's the leader of that effort. So, Joaquin, would you mind saying just a few words, please?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for putting me on the spot. Well, let me just talk a little bit about the biosphere, which is, I'm the proud recipient of the Brown Chair as being director of Biosphere 2. And Biosphere was created about 25 years ago by a group of free thinkers, and it's important to realize how it was created because we need more of that these days, that were interested in understanding a thing that wasn't even, terms that weren't even used those days, called Earth systems. How the dickens does the Earth work and regulate itself? And these folks, which were National Academy members and people from the Smithsonian, were going around the world trying to understand what they called biomes. And biomes are things like the ocean, the desert, rainforest. And after about 5 years of putzing around the Earth, every year having meetings and so on, they recognized that the only way they could really understand Earth systems was if they created something that looked like the Earth and saw how it worked. The narrative is that the biosphere as an experiment failed. That, of course, is a bad narrative. What failed was that the biospherians were a little loony, and they got into big fights and sort of, they were not scientists, actually. So they did things that one would consider perhaps not all that ethical. But like all grand experiments, the narrative is that it didn't work the way we thought it was going to work, and we learned a whole lot about it, about the Earth, because of that. The original experiment at the biosphere, where they got it all wrong, was that they didn't quite understand how soils work. And the soils were not producing enough CO2, which would then dissociate to oxygen. So the oxygen concentration in the biosphere went down from 21%, which is what we have more or less at sea level, a little bit less here, to about 14% in 1 year. So in addition to that, they were having a hard time growing stuff. So if you can't breathe and you can't eat, you get pretty grumpy. And you end up having Team A and Team B, and it went from there. But the biosphere, which is 3.14 acres under glass, remarkable engineering feat. The thing sits in a tub of stainless steel so that there's no interaction between the soils and the inside of the biosphere. When it was operating closed, we don't know if it is a closed system anymore, it had less leakage than the shuttle when the shuttle was operating. So as an engineering feat, it was quite remarkable. Amazing discoveries that were done at the biosphere that somehow it sort of gets lost in the shuffle of history is that was the first place when the CO2 concentration of the atmosphere was only 360 ppm, which is in the middle 90s, They showed that at 400 ppm CO2, which is what we have today, the corals would acidify and they would die. So they predicted exactly what's happening around the world today. So the arguments today about whether it's a temperature of the ocean that's killing the corals, or whether it's acidification of the ocean, or whether it's pollution, Biosphere showed that acidification was enough. So the rest of it is just taco, it's cream on top of the tacos that's actually beating up on the corals. Other interesting observations that were done in the past were that at 600 ppm CO2, the rainforest stopped taking CO2. So it's not an infinite sink of CO2, and in fact it started emitting greenhouse gases because the physiology of the plants just went nuts. So those are some of the consequences for the future of the Earth that were shown at the Biosphere then. Today, we do have experiments on in the rainforest that deal with how much drought you can have in a rainforest before you kill it. And that's important, of course, because there's a lot of, because of rainforest, for example, in Brazil, there's less rain. We're beginning to work with a consortium of folks and trying to understand how we can actually protect the corals, maybe by genetically engineered corals, which the best place for them is to plunk them in the ocean of the biosphere, because if it ever leaks, it leaks into the desert, so there's no issue. And it's the biggest ocean in any building in the world. And we're also working with folks that are interested in how we're going to feed 8 billion people in this world. So we have partnerships with folks that do like native seeds and vertical farms to try to find other more efficient ways in which we can grow food, which is more efficient with water use, and also dealing with the issue of energy and how to make it as efficient in energy as we can. So it's a remarkable place. I invite you all to come visit, and perhaps you will come up with an idea that we can implement at the Biosphere. The other thing that's pretty cool about it is that we have 100,000 people that come visit the Biosphere every year, and it is our responsibility to try to teach them something about Earth systems. So Sarah, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple of announcements I'd like to make. I wish we were as competent as some of the students, but thanks to excellent staff and perseverance, we have redone our website. And I think it's going to be much easier to use on your phone and a little more dynamic. So in October, go to our website, which is brownfoundations.org, and check it out. And in addition to that, we're going to develop a presence on LinkedIn. You may recall last luncheon, I wanted to get feedback on how we could stay better connected. I really do hope, and I think that all the people in this room can benefit from each other. And we've been racking our brains for trying to figure out the simplest, most straightforward way to do that. And LinkedIn is really where we've landed. So check that out, join the group. We're all diverse, but we're all trying to solve problems that matter. And as Jeff started out with, it takes a team and partnerships. It really does. There's nothing in life that you can really say you did 100% yourself. So I encourage you all to know each other and stay in touch. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching our story again. To the students, study really hard, go to class.
Who thought that was important?
To the faculty, kind of, go easy on them. They do have to sleep. And let's go out to the patio for some pictures. Thank you.